If you have purchased a PA26301, 302, 303, or 304 valve bodies, we're going to show you a brief demonstration on how to install those. Obviously the pan has to come off to get to the valve body. We've got it here on the bench to make it a little easier and better light for you guys to see. Most valve bodies will have 9 bolts holding them in. They'll either be a 3/8 type head or they may be a 7/16 head. Let's go ahead and take those out. When you take the valve body out, nothing will fall out of the transmission. More fluid will come out, so be prepared for that. There is no need to take any of the smaller 5/16 head bolts out. Bolts on the perimeter here are all the same length. You will have a longer bolt for the filter. Now, to install a street strip valve body, it is important that this piece of linkage here engages this part of the manual valve. This is the part of the valve and linkage that you move when you move the shifter, and this must be properly engaged for the valve body to function correctly. Now, if it's a street strip valve body also, and you're using the kickdown setup, it must contact this valve also, and this is the lever that will do that. Yes, you have to kind of finagle it in there to get it to hook up right, but it's usually not a problem. Let's get this in here. We'll make sure everything's lined up on the way in. Now again, we're going to have to engage this piece into this linkage, and if it's a street strip valve body and you currently run the kickdown linkage, you're going to have to engage this tab into this valve here. Let's go ahead and do that. Get the valve body into position. We'll get 2 bolts started, and then we're going to check to make sure our linkage is engaged properly. Now, the easiest way to tell if you've done the job and done it correctly is to check the kickdown lever. It should have spring. See how it springs back? That means the kickdown section is engaged properly. Now, for the manual linkage, the other piece, move the lever back and forth, and towards the back here you can see the valve move in and out. Or look down inside and you can see if it's engaged properly. Now all we have to do, once that's checked and it's correct, all we do is bolt the valve body all the way in. Now, it is very advisable that you start all the bolts first. Don't tighten them up, get them all started. And these bolts don't require much torque at all. They're about 10 foot-pounds, 10 to 12 foot-pounds, and that's about it. Don't recommend using an impact gun. I'm doing it here a little bit because of the demonstration. But you will torque these down. If you don't have a torque wrench, they are snug and with a single 3/8 drive ratchet. We'll get it snug down. Our linkage is checked. We'll put the pan back on, and then you're done with this. Now, this is the street strip valve body that may use both types of linkage. The next valve body we're going to put in is the reverse manual. Now, this valve body is the PA26304 reverse manual valve body. Now, like most reverse manual valve bodies, it is a reverse pattern, and it does not need or use the kickdown linkage as it does as our street strip valve body may use. So you don't really have to worry about this linkage. It can sit in here. You can remove it if you're overhauling the transmission. It's just not needed. You can also move this lever out of the way if you'd like, and the lever can just sit out of the way inside the transmission. But again, the most important thing is to get this piece of linkage here engaged into the manual valve. Now, some reverse manuals, 1970 through 1971, the cases did not have a provision over here for another bolt. As you can see, our reverse manual does have a bolt hole here. So you can refer back to your instructions. You do need to put a small 1/4 inch bolt and a nut through this to clamp this together in order for this to function in an early case like this. An early being 1970 through 1971. We really don't see many of these cases anymore, and the chances of you actually having one are slim to none. But should you come across one, or yours is like that, you'll know. If you've got a hole here and no bolt in it, you must have a bolt and a nut. Again, you can refer back to the instructions that you got with the valve body. Let's get this engaged properly and we'll get this put in too. Again, just start a couple bolts. You don't want to get them tightened. Okay, we'll check, make sure that it's engaged. The valve, we can look down or up into this hole here and see the valve moving back and forth when we move the linkage. We'll put the rest of the bolts back in. Now, many reverse manuals, and this being one of them, you will not feel a 1-2 shift on the lift. You do have to have the car loaded or on the ground or on the road to feel the transmission shift from first to second when you move the lever. So if it's on the lift and you've got it all filled back with fluid and you pull the shifter from first to second and you don't feel a shift, put your foot on the brake a little bit and you'll feel it. Now again, we'll need to put a bolt and a nut here on this part so we can clamp that together. This is an early case. This is very unusual, but we wanted to show you what they look like. All right, that's it for this valve body. If you have purchased a PA26302 trans brake valve body for the C4, we're going to show you some tips as to making the installation a little easier. This valve body is designed as a straight bolt-in. There are no external modifications, no servo modifications need to be made. Now, this does fit the 70 and up case. Our connector that we currently supply with this valve body is designed for 1973 cases and up. And the 73 cases and up have the push-in style vacuum modulator here in the back of the case. That allows us to push this connector in. If for some reason you have a screw-in type modulator in an earlier case, say 1970 through 1972, give us a call. We can provide you with a different type of connector so that you can use this hookup on the trans brake. But we'll show you how to put this in. One of the things you need to do is to put a little high temp silicone around the O-ring on the connector. Like so. We'll feed this wire into the modulator slot. And as you can see, it comes up right there. We'll just grab it with a pair of needle nose, and that'll make it a little easier. And just go ahead and push the connector on in. Now to fully seat the connector, just take a socket, half-inch socket, and give it a tap. It'll stop. It won't go in too far. Now you'll need to crimp the new connector that you got with the valve body onto the wire. As with all our valve bodies before, the important things on this valve body is to engage this valve, the manual valve, into our linkage on the case. So we'll get a different angle and we can see how that's done. Take the valve body. As you can see, the valve bodies, the trans brakes, when you buy them, they do come wet. They have been tested on a dyno. They're tested for pressure, lockup time, release time. So it is fully checked when you get it. It's a little messy, but it makes for a better and easier installation. Now let's go. Let's put this into the linkage. Start a couple bolts. Get them all started before you tighten any of them. Next thing we're going to do is to check to make sure the linkage is engaged properly. We're going to check down through here. We'll move the linkage and make sure our valve is moving properly. And it is, as you can see. All right, we'll go ahead and put all the rest of the bolts in. Tighten them down, as again, anywhere between 12 and 10 foot-pounds. This valve body does take one less bolt. The solenoid does cover one of the bolt areas, and that bolt cannot be installed. So we'll tighten all these down. We'll fill it with probably 4 to 6 quarts of fluid. Start it up. Now this valve body is a little bit different than our reverse manuals. You will feel a 1-2 shift on the lift, plus the 2-3. This has manual engine braking in the first gear, so that's why you do feel the first shift on the lift. We'll hook up the connector. Don't forget that. Tighten the bolts down. Pan on. You're good to go. Okay. Some aftermarket aluminum pans are very thick along this casting area here. And they may actually contact the solenoid, so when you go to put the pan on, the pan doesn't rest on the bolt holes properly. You can either take a little bit out here, or yes, you can grind on the brass section of the solenoid. But most of the time you won't. Most of the nicer pans and the newer pans have this little cutout for the solenoid, and they'll be fine. But it's okay, you can grind a little clearance on there.